What's that? Take cover. It's another heretic!
All right. So here we are. We're back. I got my brother Zachary back with me, and we're going to continue our conversation. Like I was telling him before I started recording just now, I'm largely unprepared. It's been a very busy and very cold week for me. Been very uncomfortable. So going outside lately has been just brutal. Not fun at all. So, yeah. How have you been, Zach?
I've been all right. Been cold. Celebrated Oslo's birthday.
Yeah, nice.
And, nothing
He's
much,
three
honestly.
now. 3 now, right?
That is correct. Yeah, 3. The big 3.
The big 03. Well, how would you describe the conversation that we're going to try to have today? I think we promised a more paranormal angle, getting more into that. I know I sent you videos about the GATE program, and maybe we could talk about that a little bit, because I think you and I both sort of have memories of whatever this program was or was not. So there's a lot of angles that we can explore, I think. So let me yeah, I guess we're gonna start here by looking at this video, as I said, and this will sort of open up our conversation. I think this lady here. I think you know, but for those who don't know this lady, that I'm going to pull up on the screen, her name is Kathy O'Brien, and she is a survivor of MK Ultra, sex trafficking, and that sort of thing. And I don't know why. Well, if you can't see her, if they can't see her, they will be able to hear the audio, and that'll be good enough. So I'm gonna just play it.
Per se, he's what I refer to as trisexual.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Per se, he's what I refer to as trisexual. He'll try anything. Any age, anybody, anytime, anywhere, just as long as he has control, because he had a perversion of power, in addition to his interest in mind control. Therefore, it was Gerald Ford.
Hold on, wait a minute here.
Gerald Ford is not a pedophile.
Yep. I thought that this was going to talk about her. Let's just listen to the whole thing.
Pedophile per se. He's what I refer to as trisexual. He'll try anything. Any age, anybody, anytime, anywhere, just as long as he has control, because he had a perversion of power, in addition to his interest in mind control. Therefore, it was Gerald Ford who came out to our house and explained to my father how to raise me in the project according to government specifications. My father had been caught sending this child pornography through the U.S. mail, and therefore he was approached and told that if he sold me into that project, that he would gain immunity for prosecution. My father remains free from prosecution to date for so-called reasons of national security. Once my father agreed to sell me into the project, I was taken routinely to Mackinac Island, Michigan, which is a political retreat where the Michigan governor's mansion is located. It was a bohemian grove of sorts where politicians met and discussed New World Order controls, where they discussed mind control of the masses, mind control in the
Can you pause it real quick?
Autism.
Yeah. Already, I mean, this is such a short clip, and it's obviously from a much longer presentation she gives, but I mean, there's so much that we could unpack here. that is so
Yeah.
relevant to probably your story, but the story of so many others and what we see happening all around the world, especially
Well,
in our
there's
country. Where do you want to
there's
start?
I mean, man, where do I want to start? There's a lot that we could discuss in just like this first half of this one clip. I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the bigger ones is the aspect of mind control,
Mm-hmm.
and then the aspect of pedophilia and sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Because my leading theory is trauma of any kind, whether it's sexual or emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if severe enough, um, and if done enough times to one specific person, um, it can garner some sort of control over that person. Not even just power, but through literal control
Hmm.
in terms of how someone operates. I believe that it triggers like some sort of primal or some sort of sadistic nature in someone.
Hmm.
There's a reason why people who are sexually abused or abused of any kind, but we'll go with sexual because that's what we're talking about in this aspect or in case of this story or my story. But let's just take sexual abuse, for example. Like statistically speaking, I would be more likely to offend
Mm-hmm.
um, in some way, whether it's through sexual abuse or murder or whatever the case may be, just because of that instance or just because of that experience I had as a child.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be that. It could be witnessing your a parent being abused by your other parent. Just
Right.
witnessing that for an extended period of time can really they affect the psyche of someone. So in terms of the whole mind control aspect of it, I think it's a variation of not only lab testing or monitored education or interference in that way, as well as the combination of like sexual abuse, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, to almost gain control over someone's mind and make it to where it's like eventually that person's going to snap.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe that they prey on people who are in poverty or who are at a disadvantage in life because they can't afford the help that they would need to get, like, the mental health that they need, the medications and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's easier to prey on the more vulnerable, and it's also easier to keep the more vulnerable subdued and like in a
Mm.
slave state or in like a mind control state and everything like that. That's why Stockholm syndrome exists. You keep a victim long
Yeah.
enough, um, eventually, like, they fall in love or they start to admire their captor.
Yeah.
Um, but the mind is a very delicate, very complex thing that we don't know about. Um, even the biggest and brightest throughout the centuries who have dissected and studied human psychology and you know, um, don't know how the brain operates entirely, but we know enough to where we can manipulate people and we can use them as assets um, or as a fire starter if they wanted to. Um, and it could go into various like avenues of that, but you have MK Ultra. You have what we call the gate community, which is what we kind of brought up last time, which is an educational program which um, kind of hide in plain sight type situation. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what I have to say. So the whole mind control, pedophilia, sex abuse aspect totally makes sense to me. Um,
Wouldn't you say
100%.
that, with how um with how effective they are with programs like MK Ultra, wouldn't you say that they have essentially mastered the human mind and fracturing the human psyche in that way? I mean, we hear about people who have been MK Ultra'd, which seems to be really, it seems like more and more people are aware of what that means. It's almost like a meme nowadays, and we see it in popular culture with things like Stranger Things.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
Montauk Project and that sort of thing is essentially the same thing. So my pushback would be that they've essentially mastered it, and I would say that they've mastered it to such a scale to where I don't think they really even need to clandestinely abduct people. Not that that doesn't happen still, but I feel like in many ways the entire population, especially of the United States, is collectively MK Ultra, where we have this Stockholm syndrome, as you say. We're fractured. Our minds are fractured. I mean, they keep us in this. They keep us in this state of constant fear and trauma, so that we don't know what to do. It's learned helplessness. It's the Stockholm syndrome. It's like these are oftentimes associated with programs like MK Ultra and that sort of thing.
yeah. The reason why I think that, the reason why I say we don't know how exactly the mind works entirely is because it's so much easier to break it than it is to
Put it back
up,
together.
than it is to put it back together or to
Hmm.
reach like enlightenment.
Hmm.
Enlightenment requires a lot of self-reflection and a lot of life experience and a lot of thinking and discipline. But to break
That's a,
someone, you just
that's a
need a
good
drug.
point. That's a good point. I think
You
maybe
take away the
then.
ability, you take away the ability for someone to love or think for themselves, and
Mhm.
they have no path to enlightenment or to save themselves. And it's easy to get someone to that point.
Yeah.
All it takes is, you know, for example, the most innocent thing, you're dating someone and you're taking an interest in everything that they're presenting to you that they're interested in, but you bring up um your writing hobby and they're just dismissive.
Mm.
Do that repetitively over, you know, a 10-year period. Eventually that dude's gonna get fed up and be like, look, I've heard about your knitting, your cooking, your baking, you know, your art projects, but you haven't listened to a thing I've written.
Yeah.
Eventually that's going to have psychological damage, something as
Yeah.
simple as that, and that's traumatic. That can be traumatic. Something as simple as that. You don't feel heard. And when you're not heard, that can lead to trauma. So it's like something as simple as that. So imagine taking a child's innocence and not even giving them a chance and
Mm.
then making them think that that's a normality or
Yeah.
not even doing that. Because in instances like this, in these programs, um, or I would say in the ecosystem of child trafficking and pedophilia, um, a lot of the times I believe that it's like you're not giving them the chance and everything. And I forgot where I was going with this. Um, you strip them of any chance, you know,
Mm.
which is why grooming is often, you know, such an issue as well. Um, to me, grooming can almost be just as dangerous. Actually, I would say that grooming is just as dangerous and capable of creating monsters as straight up afflicting the abuse.
Hmm.
Just simple exposure, So
Yeah.
um, like I said, the mind is so easy to break. So it's like I don't think everyone's MK Ultra either. I think that people have this idea that we are superior beings, and we live in a time to where everything's quote unquote okay. So when we hear that, so when things like MK Ultra are brought to the public and they're like, oh, we already knew that, and they move
Mm.
along their very way because they think, oh, well, they clearly released it. Stop. It's this weird Stockholm syndrome of, it's just like, it's like you live in an abusive household
Mm.
and you're leaving your house because your friend's picking you up, and your friend hears your dad shouting at you from like down the driveway or whatever, like screaming, and you get in your friend's car and it's like, hey dude, are you okay? And you're like, oh, that's just how my dad is, don't worry about it. It's like you're
Yeah.
used to it, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's just an everyday thing. Like,
Yeah.
tomorrow he'll apologize, and then after a month, like, like everything will be good, and then he'll freak out again, or he'll hide something, or he'll get caught cheating and mom will still stay because he said he'll promise different, or, you know, whatever the case may be. It's like, um, just looking at like just family dynamics or dynamics between average everyday people on a social level, you can kind of compare that to like how these elites operate and how people kind of fall victim or fall in line so easily. Um, and then you throw money, power, fame into it, and that's like, the Hollywood aspect of it, or like, the sporting aspect of it, even the modeling aspect, like, all of these different avenues, where all of these elites have their fingers in and are kind of digging around and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Another thing that really stood out to me in this clip was how her dad was caught with this material, but he was recruited by the government to sell her into the system where she was uh, further abused. And if you know anything about her testimony, I know a lot of people who listen to my channel probably will have already. Her name is really popular in the so-called conspiracy theory circle because she really is one of the first, I think, to expose what I think has just recently come to the broader public attention, which is something like the Jeffrey Epstein circle. So
Hmm.
she's been talking about this for clearly a very long time. This is a forum in 1996, it says. So,
I can tell by
she,
the footage.
yeah, well, it says it. I took the video down, obviously, but I mean, it said Kathy O'Brien, MK Ultra survivor. It doesn't say because it's cut off, but it says something forum 1996. So she's
Hmm.
been talking about this for a very long time, and others have too. But what's interesting, or what stood out to me, like I said, was how her initial abuser got caught, but he gained immunity from the government because there's this program available apparently for children to be placed into where this stuff is perpetuated, and it's
Yeah.
for governmental experiments, it's for blackmail operations, it's for really, just when you get down to it, satanic occult worship.
Hmm.
So what we see here is that the system really is not designed to protect or to validate or to bring justice to victims. It's really designed to maintain power, profit, and control for the elites.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And I haven't seen that full testimony, but a lot of things are strikingly similar in terms of what I feel I experienced or what I've been theorizing. And the reason why I say theorizing is because a lot of the memories of when these things would be taking place are all but gone except for bits and pieces.
Hmm. So
And
there's big
um,
gaps in your memory.
huge, like
Yeah.
massive, like to
And
the
that
point to where
is,
it's like there was a point in my life where it's like I had absolutely zero recollection of my childhood, except for blips. So it's like I remember living in Algoma, Wisconsin, which is very interesting.
And how old again would you, because I think I was like 10, 11
Like
when you lived there.
five
So
to
you would have
seven,
been, yeah,
5 to
you would have
7,
between 5 to 7 years old. Yeah, that makes sense.
because we were there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how long we were there, but we lived in that blue house, which I found on Google Maps, which is now red.
Yeah.
And then we found that greenhouse, which is completely dilapidated, and that house has some history apparently to it.
Well, they took that house
Um,
down actually.
well,
They
yeah,
they
but that
completely
house, yeah,
demolished it because it
yeah,
was dilapidated. It was horrible.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some stories in that house too, though. So,
Mm.
um, which is another thing that we're probably going to get into, which is like the paranormal aspect of things. But I can tie that into here. One more thing I really want to point out with her story, which is very interesting. So in the
Mm-hmm.
Epstein files, there was a mention of Donald Trump being a participant in the murder of a baby in Lake
Yeah.
Michigan.
Yep.
Well, Mackinac Island is in Lake Michigan, where the elites would meet up.
Oh, shit! You're right.
Yeah, see,
I didn't even. Yeah, you're right.
that's
Wow.
the first thing that popped into my head. And that was a testimony in 1996, and that allegedly happened in the 88 or 89 when he did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to
So,
be
and that would have
clear.
been
I
when
don't think.
MK.
Yeah,
You
to
have to
my
kind of.
knowledge, I don't think Kathy O'Brien has ever alleged that Donald Trump
I know,
personally
but
abused her.
yes,
But I mean, the
the
dots
elites on
here
the
are
island,
the
and yeah,
connection. Yeah, the
Trump
connection
owned
is.
a yacht. Trump owned a yacht that was in Lake Michigan.
Mhm.
So it's just like, come on, you know, allegedly, whatever. But um,
Yeah.
so you kind of have to think. And like we were living in Algoma, living in that whole peninsula area,
Hmm.
and a lot of some of my paranormal experiences, quote unquote, were happening in Algoma as well.
Mm.
When we were living with that, and some of those experiences stopped after we left.
Some of the paranormal things you said.
Yeah,
Okay.
like in terms of abduction.
Ah, okay. So hold on here. Before we move any further, I'm gonna
And that's
play
kind of
some
what I
more.
wanted to, that's why I kind of wanted to lead. I tried to navigate this. Like as
Yeah.
things were kind of going together, like I'm trying to navigate this as best way possible, like segue into things.
Oh,
So
for sure.
basically, what we're talking about is elite pedophiles using sexual abuse and other various methods, depending on which rabbit hole you go through, whether it's the military industrial complex, modeling, acting, singing, politics, a church, whatever the case may be, they have their hands in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Depending on how you go will depend on how they brainwash you. Depending on, personally, I think your bloodline, military, if you're like a special child in terms of like intelligence, or you're showing, they take interest in various children for various reasons. Various people, I shouldn't just say, because there are also, it's not just limited to children. It's much easier with children, which is why children are such a commodity, which is why child trafficking is so, because one, these people are sick and they're attracted to these things. But two, you have a child, you have a future soldier of some kind, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, an asset. So it's just
Yeah.
like, but you can still make an asset out of an adult. I mean, look at Ghislaine Maxwell. Look at all of these adults who become famous, and then all of a sudden, oh, now they're looped into the network. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like they can get anyone. And the thing is, more so like brainwashing and mind control. When you're an
It
adult,
really.
it's more. That's when you get into the blackmail. That's when you get into the because like it's much more difficult to convince a grown man or woman to do heinous things when they've seen the life and they know what those things do to, like, it's just like, but when you can blackmail someone, when you can trick someone, it can start off with one trick. It's just like, oh, well, now you're in this, like,
Yeah.
life contract with us, and you have to produce this many movies, you know. It's like, oh, well, you want more? Well, here's the next step. It's just a humiliation ritual, and it's just a satanic ritual one after another, until eventually it's like, all right, well, unless you want none of this other stuff, like your fraud or the fact that you had this person killed or whatever, if you don't want any of that to come out, then, you know, here's this dog, here's this child, here's this,
Yeah.
and we have to film it. And
Well,
so
really,
that's how they get adults, really, or drugs, alcohol, stuff like
yeah.
that. But the younger they are, that's, yeah.
Well, I
Um,
think a lot of the people in like the highest upper echelons of society, I think they're bred into it, and they themselves are groomed into it from children. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that people like Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, the Clintons, the Bidens, like these people who really wield the power, like the popes even. You're not going to get to
oh,
these
100%.
power unless you're like literally born into the cult.
Yeah.
But like
There's definitely,
other people who want to gain entrance into this power,
yeah,
sure,
the
maybe they
entrance
learn,
is where yep, exactly,
and that's where
exactly.
the blackmail angle comes in. That's our
But I
congressmen,
also,
that's our
I,
police officers, our judges,
yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah.
but I don't think the elites are safe from blackmail, though.
No, of
You know,
course not. No, they
you know what I
that's
mean?
how
So
they
it's just
hold one.
like,
That's how they, we
hold each
want
other
accountable.
accountable.
Yeah,
That's why
we
you
want,
have Russia saying that they know things, and that's why you have other countries saying that they know things about this whole Epstein thing, is because they also have politicians and elites who are intertwined and connected with this, or who
well, yeah,
directly built the honeypot and stuff like that. That's why it's a
yeah,
global network. And people fail to realize that. They think that it's just Epstein, or they think that's just Trump, or they think that's just Ghislaine, or they think that it's like, no. What a lot of people fail to realize is that this is a global effort. This is a
yeah,
global effort,
yeah,
100%. And I think, in terms of people like Trump, I think his time is fading. He and he's doing everything in his power, but I think too much has been revealed, at least for the average sane human to ignore. The only ones who are still on board are like the ones who are severely deprived mentally, who are average everyday people, who are just evil. Like, I'm sorry, but like at this point, if you're supporting him and what everything that's going on, you're evil. Um, Actually, I'm not sorry. Um, and his elite goons, like those are the only ones. They're so outnumbered. I hope people realize how outnumbered they are. I'm not saying that this is the only evil in the world, but right now it's at a head. And like, we need to pay attention to those things. But I found it very interesting that that deposition in court with her took place in 96. There's alleged activity with Epstein, the Epstein class is what they're calling it, in Lake Michigan in that time period.
yeah,
And there is an accusation from a witness in the files that places Donald Trump in Lake Michigan, which
yeah,
would make sense because he had a yacht or a ship. And like, it just, you know what I mean? It gets
yeah,
to a point where it's like, how many more red lines do you need before we have to start highlighting them?
right.
You know? um, but yeah, we can move into kind of like the paranormal aspect of it, because I also have a theory regarding, like, the paranormal. Um,
Yeah, let's
I don't know. Actually, I don't know how I feel about the paranormal, but I do think that there are some explanations in terms of what the paranormal is, um, and it's difficult to explain because we're dealing with topics and subjects that are out of the realm of, I don't know, I guess concept. Not saying that they haven't been conceptualized before, but um, I don't know. I think it's going to get very interesting, in my opinion.
Well, let's talk about that because in this here, let me play this clip and then we'll go from there. So let me I'll continue playing her clip and we'll get to the other part, which I thought was really interesting, which reminded me of some things that you've told us and myself in the past, and then we'll go from there. So
Do you mind if I switch over my headphone? This one's
yeah,
almost
go
done.
ahead. Yeah, I'll pause it. Let me know when you're ready.
Just waiting for it to connect. Sorry, everyone.
No, it's fine. We had some difficulties getting started
Cool.
and
Locked
all
in
that stuff.
loaded. Yeah, I've been in my head and thinking a lot lately, so. But yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so I'm gonna play this, and then we'll go from there.
Users at that time was the Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau is a professed Jesuit. Now, the Jesuits are an intelligence arm of the Catholic Vatican. There's a criminal faction within these Jesuits. Pierre Trudeau.
All right, hold on. I want to just make it really plain. There's a criminal arm within the Jesuits. Correction, the entire Jesuit system is criminal, but I digress. Oh yeah, and Pierre Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, who is currently married to Katy Perry, or they're dating. So, and she's MK Ultra victim for sure.
Represented this criminal faction of the Catholic Church of the Jesuits, who believed in mind control of the masses. These guys who are manipulating my mind and programming for mind control purposes claim, and these criminals in control of our country as well, claim to be gods, demons, and aliens, in order that I feel totally helpless, in order that I felt like they were beyond my realm to affect. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as aliens. That would be foolish. But what I am saying is that it was my experience that these were people claiming to be aliens. Gerald Ford is not.
Okay, so that was another aspect that I found to be interesting because in so many different survivor testimonies I've heard, whether or not you want to take it literally or metaphorically, a lot of testimonies from people who have been involved in satanic ritual abuse or SRA, MK Ultra, all these experiments, trafficking really in general, claim to see demonic entities, claim to see extraterrestrial-like entities. And this is also part of your claim, which we didn't talk about before in your testimony, but this is something that you have talked about. So I want you to take it from here and sort of explain what your experiences were. Really without getting into so much maybe your theory of what the paranormal is, but really what your experiences are, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
because for full disclosure, I've not really heard this part of your testimony. So I'm sure that I'm going to have plenty of questions to come from this. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't recall if any of it ever happened when we were living in Georgia. That's where it's most fuzzy. But the two
Okay.
memories that I have the most, or that I have been able to piece together, is there's this one to where I'm laying on my back in a bed, in an empty room. The bed is white, the sheets are white, the blankets are white, and it's like very thin, almost like you're laying in a hospital bed. Everything, linens,
Hmm.
straight up linens. Um, and there was a window, and there was a curtain on the window, and that curtain was also white. So just think white out room. No distinguishable texture on any of the
Like to the
walls.
walls. Okay.
Yeah,
What color are the
it's
walls?
white. Everything's white.
Oh, okay. Everything's white.
Everything's white. There's one window, but it was extremely black. Just picture you're in a black room and the only light you have is from the glow of the moon. So you can distinguish shapes. You can kind of tell like, hey, that's like my bed's white. The walls are white, you know? Like that's about how lit up the room is. Um, that's the room when it's dark. Now the room when it's lit up, it's not a yellow light or like someone flipped on a light. It looks like it's coming from the window, which is
So,
why
like a light is shining from the
it would be
outside
to my left. Yeah,
into, and it's so yeah, right. That was my other question. The window's to your left.
yeah.
Okay.
So let's say you enter. I'm just going to describe it as like a hospital because I think that's the easiest setting I can put it in that people can kind of relate with. You walk into a hospital room and let's say the hospital bed is to the left and straight ahead of you there's a window. So if you're laying in that bed,
Yep.
the entry door would be in front of you and to the right, and the window would be to the left.
Yep.
So if you can kind of picture that. Um, except it wasn't a hospital bed. It was like a bed on like I would see I can't distinguish the frame, but it was on like an actual mattress. Um, I guess you could say it was kind of like an as I shouldn't say like an asylum, like a mental health facility, but like an old one that doesn't have like the modern amenities. I don't know if you've ever been in one, but the modern ones have like more comforts. The older ones, it would probably have just been like a bed and maybe like a toilet. So it's kind of like that. Um,
So there's no instruments. There's no
no,
sounds of any instruments or anything. It's just a bare
see,
room with a mattress and a window.
yeah, it's a bare room with a mattress and well, the mattress is on a bed frame, but I don't know what the bed
Right.
frame was made out of.
Right.
But it was raised for sure. Um, and when the light was bright, it was just bright. So it was like floodlights were on you, and like you try to see, but you can't really see because the lights are so bright.
Hmm.
Almost like in a film when someone's waking up to a surgery or something. Like that's how
Mm.
bright the lights are. Like they're
Mhm.
so bright that it's almost like it's dark. You can't distinguish everything else around you in the room.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, like you walk into a hospital room or like someone's giving birth and like, it's dark, like they're gonna have lights on, but like the rest of the room is dark. So it's almost like, yeah. Um, that's one memory I have. I don't remember anyone else in the room. Um, actually, I take that back. I remember someone in the room, but it's like a silhouette, and you can't distinguish like what kind of clothes they were wearing, or you can't even like. It's like that kind of blur.
Like a
I don't know if
blurry
you're.
silhouette.
Uh, I don't know if you're familiar with like Gaussian. I think that's how they say it, but like a Gaussian blur. It's like blown out, blurry.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't really tell what's what. Like you can pick out like maybe a silhouette of a human, but like everything else is just like kind of flooded out. So you couldn't tell, oh, they're
Hmm.
wearing a red shirt because like the blur is so much, like everything is so distorted.
Yeah.
But I remember there being someone like in the far left corner, like if you're laying down looking, it's like back corner, like farthest left corner from you.
Hmm.
I don't remember. The thing is like I don't remember sounds. The only time I ever remember sounds in any of these memories is like if you're talking or if like I'm being talked directly at. But so no sound is all visual.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So that's
Do you have a
one.
sense? Do you have a sense of how old you were with that?
And I mean, yeah, like Algoma, that was happening when we were living in the Blue House. Like for sure, that was happening when we were living in the Blue House. At least
Wow.
one
Okay.
time. It like
And
the thing
what's
is like
crazy?
I've had that memory multiple times. So it's like I can remember multiple instances of it, but it was always kind of like the same play by play type situation. It's just like, oh, I'm familiar. It's like I don't know, waking
Like a
up in the same bed, waking up in the same bed every day. It was almost, it's not that familiar, but it's just like, it's to a point where it's like,
it's like a
you
reoccurring
recognize,
dream.
yeah, exactly. It's like you recognize that something's happening,
Yeah.
and like for some reason it just keeps happening, and you can't, yeah, like a reoccurring dream or like deja vu, which I have a theory about as well. And I'm kind of
Um. What? So that's your
formulating,
first
but
memory. What would you say your second memory is then?
my second memory is just darkness and seeing people in the room,
Oh wow. Okay.
like shadow people. But the thing is like there's shadow people, and then there's like, how do I describe this? People who appear as shadows.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. So like a shadow person is like, um, I would say a
Like a
ghost.
literal two-dimensional
M-
shadow that's
More
cast on
like,
the wall, but you don't
yeah,
see the object casting that shadow.
yeah,
Whereas a person who appears as a shadow is just a dark silhouetted figure
that you
that,
feel like you can reach out and touch and
right. It
can
might
and flip.
actually be an
Yeah,
actual person or manifestation of some sort of entity.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly,
So
exactly.
in that memory, you said there's multiple shadow people. Can you sort of walk us through
Well,
this
in
particular
terms of
second memory?
in terms of multiple, it's really difficult because like that first memory I described, I don't know how to explain this. Maybe someone, the right person will hear this, but like at first, like when I first recollect a memory or when a memory comes back to me, it's a still image.
Okay.
And it's almost like I'm grabbing the frames
Hmm.
from the ether and putting them in
In
order,
order.
and
Wow.
like just turning the wheel and watching everything just kind of
Yeah.
like an old projection wheel type situation. And it's like that's kind of how it played out in my head for a while. Like the more I guess known the memory, or the more I think, or the more like I remember my son's birth, like it's a movie. But like a lot of these memories are like almost like still frames, like
Flip book.
uh, like a flip, yeah, like a flip book, or even like you can draw it out as like a storyboard type
Yeah.
situation. Which is why I always described he was like, I can literally paint you what I'm seeing, but I can't seem to put the pen or the brush to paper the proper way. Like it's difficult, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's why I tell you that. Like that's kind of how it is. It's almost like I'm stitching together a film, and like
My next
I don't,
questions
yeah.
my next questions are in these memories, how are you say so it's definitely very visual.
Oh, I wanted to get back to the the black figures and multiple
Yeah.
people being in the
Yeah,
room or
sorry, keep
whatever.
going. Yep.
The reason why I was saying that is because like these ones are the most terrifying, and because I have these dreams when I'm sleeping as well. Like I relive a lot of the stuff when I'm sleeping. Um, but like it's like snapshots, and like each snapshot is like a different occurrence. I'm not saying like hundreds or whatever. I'm not, or like maybe these snapshots are just like the same occurrence, but everything's in different orders. Or maybe it's multiple occurrences and everything's just all jumbled together. I don't know.
Mm,
Maybe it's because of the familiarity of it, just repetition.
yeah.
It's like, hey, what did you make on part 1682 out of 2000 yesterday? Like, what happened with that part? It's like, I don't know, dude. It's like, I made 2000 parts yesterday. How am I
Yeah.
supposed to pinpoint it? So it's kind of like that, you know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
being asked a very specific thing and not being able to. That's how these memories are. But it's like sometimes these memories, like I see them standing in the corner, or literally up in my face, or like
Wow.
there's one where they're over me and like their hands are over me, stuff like that. And it's just like flash, flash. It's almost like jump scares or like a strobe light, just very slow, and something's moving around the room.
Wow.
That's so
Okay.
like that really terrifies me. Um,
Wow. So, and when they're close to your face, you see no distinguishable features?
No, it's mostly picture like a noir film. Um, if anyone younger is watching, that's like a black and white. It's a specific style of black and white filming. Super
A lot of
dark blacks
deep
and
contrast, yeah.
a lot of deep contrast. So, or a cartoon,
So it's
super
like you could
blacks, but
tell
you can
that the
only meet the
person,
silhouette of like you only see the highlights,
yeah,
like the
okay.
absolute highlights of their mouth, maybe like the tips of their ears, like the top of the eyebrow, anything that's kind of maybe like the under their cheekbones, anything that can pick up light and cast it in a different direction, if you know how light works on surfaces, like just a very crest of someone's face you can like make out. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's human.
yep,
Um, which is why it's like which is why when she says like they like to present themselves or try to convince you that they're an alien or a god, but you see that they're human, you know,
very
and
interesting.
that's what they're trying to, I think, erase and prevent, which is why I think all my memories are so
Yeah,
blank. Like I told you, it's like I feel like I don't I don't feel attached to myself. Like I feel like a dead man walking because like who are you but your memories? You know? Like if you don't have memories, you can't even reflect or like learn or like anything on
yeah,
anything that happened. So it's just like you're just a zombie. That's how it felt, or that's how it feels. Like so it's yeah, so just like the outline. So that's kind of what I wanted to get to in describing how my memory works. But well, you were gonna say something.
yeah. Um,
I felt like that was important, sorry.
no, that's perfectly fine. I kind of jumped the ship on that one because I wanted to get to that's actually the question I was going to ask because you didn't mention sounds, but it's obviously very visible. So my question was going to be, well, were you able to distinguish any sort of features or anything like that? Which you answered my question. My next point or question is along this line because it's crazy that up until I would say about middle school, we shared a room. Sometimes even like in middle school, high school, depending on our crazy living situation, how many rooms were available to us as a family. Um, we would share a room. We slept in bunk beds. I usually would sleep on the top, being the eldest. You slept on the bottom. So for you to describe you being in this room, which feels medical, or like the closest thing you could describe is a medical room, one window, you're on a bed, everything's linen, it's a white room. I personally have no. First of all, 2 points here before I get to my point. I, like you, have very fragmented memories of
I
childhood.
I know because there's things that I
Very.
mention and bring up that and you're like, when did that happen?
Yeah, very fragmented childhood myself. Very little memories. I have like very fragmentary memories. The ones I do have are good. I have no recollection of like any bad memories at all, which is strange considering the environment we're told that we grew up in. So that's a personal red flag for me that I'm also trying to recall some things if there's anything to recall. Setting that aside, the other thing is we shared rooms often. So where were you? Like, is this a dream? Is this astral projection? Is this out of body? Is this night terrors? Is this sleep paralysis? Is this literal alien entity abduction? Or is this a human trafficking thing where they're taking you, placing you in another place? doing you know what I mean? Like, what is your sense? Because I've had sleep paralysis before. It's frightening. I know exactly where I was when it happened. I know that it was sleep paralysis. I think I might have had an out of body astral projection sort of experience as well. What is your like true sense of what you think these memories are revealing to you?
I think
And if you
it's
think it's crazy, then it's crazy.
no,
But
I don't think
what do you
anything
think?
that I no. Everything in my mind makes total sense. Like absolutely everything. Like and what I mean by that is like my story is still unfolding and there's still things that I obviously have to learn. But so far everything has been validated.
Yeah.
And in recent years, even more so. Um, I think that I am a victim of some sort of sexual experiments of some kind, whether it's for mind control or for pleasure. Um, that's what I ultimately think.
So you believe that at some point in the night, or perhaps even during the day, whatever. I mean, you could have been drugged for all we know and taken to this thing, and you're coming out of this state, right, or whatever. But I guess the point is you think that you were abducted by someone or something and experimented on,
Yeah,
whether for pleasure or for scientific data collection
yeah.
purposes.
And I want to make it clear that I don't think it was something. I think it was like a human being,
Okay. Okay.
100%.
All right. That's good. Good to know. That was maybe my next question. My other question actually is this. Do you ever have the sense that there are others around you? Are there other children in the room, other children around you? Do you have any sense of that, or are you just alone, isolated, bright lights, or just dark room with these dark figures?
I'm always alone and like it's just me. Like in terms
Okay.
of like if there's other victims, it was just me.
Okay.
And I think that's like, by design,
Yeah.
depending on what the specific purpose is. If it's mass trafficking, I don't think I'd be here right now. I think I'd be dead. Um, Based on our family and our family's history, huge military. This was going on when we were involved with the military. So without incriminating people, um,
Yeah.
and it's not only the person that you and I have talked about. I think that the other person is also involved. Um, like that's about as much as I can say, I think legally without like someone knocking on my door. But I have no problem throwing like the military industrial complex or the legal system or the school system, um, which is unfortunate because like the thing is like this is how they get you. I'm a big supporter of like education and having access to education and like public schools should be a safe environment. Like public schools are amazing, what a blessing. But
Was that to
yes,
my
I do.
text message?
Yeah.
Oh
But
shit. Pardon my language, audience. I try not to swear because most of the people who listen are, you know, Christian and stuff, and a lot of Christians. But I don't care. But I try to. But I asked my brother a question in private with regards to something he said, and he confirmed it. So that's kind of a bombshell. So yeah,
um
um,
but
which is crazy because it goes back to
like
what
public schools
you
are
was
good, you
saying
know what
and
I mean? Like
others.
I think they're weaponizing things that should be amazing things, like even like the
Right,
healthcare
exactly.
system. You know, like
Yeah.
the public school system, cool. Let's send our kids and like teach them about the beauty of the world that we live on and the amazing cultures and the people that make up and like, but like that's not all they do.
Right.
And it's not every child either. If it was every child, it would be too obvious.
Well, it's like what you said at the beginning, and what we've been driving home is that these
It's
people
selective.
have an uncanny ability of
Understanding.
pinpointing who to target and how to target. And it's a very sophisticated, very international, and very well protected system, which is unfortunate. But it's the courts, it's the
Schools, churches,
schools, churches, you name it.
yeah. But
You
it's not
name it.
every child. You know, like every
Right.
child is in danger of this, but it's not like an entire school
Or
is subject to this
an
to
entire
the extent
family.
that it is. Or
Or an
yeah, or it
entire
could be an
family.
entire family. It could literally be bloodlines. It could, you know, which is why you have people like Trump, whose last name isn't really Trump, and his family is actually from, you know, Germany or whatever, and like they
Well, no,
have deep
I
roots
was
in
saying,
there, and like there
right.
there's a lot, like, you know, so it's like bloodlines, like, you
No,
know, there.
what I meant was it's not always every child in every family either.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Specific, yeah, I see what
It
you're
could
saying
also
now.
be
Yes.
specific children because, you know, and the,
And it could be due to sacrificial reasons, like, oh, you have to do this to
right.
your youngest because of this. And they'll give you some satanic reason from
Yeah.
some whatever, you know what I mean? Whether, like, from whatever origin, it doesn't matter because it's not all these satanic cults operate with the same ideology and same common goal. A lot of these are just satanic cults, and they just pass children around because that's a common goal. You know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah.
like evil is evil. So it's just like as long as you're evil enough, you're part of the club. Like that's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like that's just how it is. You know what I
Just
mean? So
as
it's just
just
like
as there's many denominations of Christianity or Islam or whatever, there's
whatever the
different
case is. I
denominations
mean,
of
dude, there's
Satanism.
Scientology. Look at
Yeah.
Scientology. That's the perfect example of mind control. Are you kidding me? That's the mod like that's open MK Ultra. Open air.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you want like without taking a jab at like these like you know these mega churches and stuff like that or like you know like just look at Scientology if anything if you're not comfortable looking at the church and discussing look at Scientology and you have a clear example of how to get children and adults trapped in these things. They have it down.
Yeah.
They have it down and they profit hugely off of it. And they feed the exact machine that we all know they're feeding. We know who they're feeding at the end of the day.
It's
So,
yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, that's my paranormal aspect of it. I think it's it's humans for sure. I don't think that um, but like for the longest time, I describe it as an alien abduction. Like, oh yeah, I have an abduction story, you know, and it's just like I tell like these stories about how I'm under light, and it sounds like these abduction stories that you hear about. And a lot of the times, the people who come forward and feel compelled to come forward enough are with these alien abduction stories are people like Walton, who
Mm.
back in the 80s he came out and he's like, oh yeah, I was abducted by aliens, I came back 5 days later and without a trace or whatever. Or the people who work on these UFO projects and they try to say something and next thing you know their wife is leaving them and they had to file bankruptcy and they lose everything. And it's like, yeah, they want to make you seem crazy, but it's just like you see these things and you experience these things and they're very real. And I know they're real because it's just like
Because you've experienced it,
you can
first of all.
you can tell you can tell the difference between a memory and a dream. You can, you know.
Yeah,
And that's why
I've
everyone's like,
not.
oh, it felt like a dream. Why did it feel like a dream? Because we can distinguish between dreams and reality.
Yeah.
So I'm very much able to distinguish my reality from a dream.
Yeah, that's why I say I know what sleep paralysis is because I
Hmm.
experienced it. Uh, and my gaps in my childhood memories don't account for anything like that. I know when I have a memory from childhood, I know it's a memory. When I wake up from a dream, I know it's a dream. I've had dreams where it feels real, but I know it's a dream. It just
Hmm.
feels real because you know it's a dream, just like what you said. So, and I've heard testimonies as well from people, or I'm reading through a book, and in the book, it's called Final Events. In the book, there's a theory that's explored, or it's at least mentioned, that a lot of so-called alien abductions really are just these clandestine military operations, and it's when something like this happens, it's traumatizing. You suddenly you wake up and you're like on this operating table, right? And there's these so-called beings standing above you, and they're doing all this stuff. Well, what's not to say that there isn't some form of technology or drug involved that's being administered, and false memories aren't being planted, and they're saying we're aliens, UFO, etc., when really it's just a bunch of military guys who took you in the dead of night, maybe by like some silent aircraft that they have, or by van or whatever, but they're putting these false memories in. That that's one theory that I've heard, and that's essentially what you're describing. Um,
Yeah.
which is very interesting because if you're there alone and it's only one person in the room with you, then whoever's doing this to you knows how to do that somehow.
See,
Or
that's
or or maybe that's not even the case. You're just a kid and you're growing up and you're having these memories, and you're attaching your experiences to this mythology that's already existing in the zeitgeist. Oh, that's alien. But then time goes on and you're like, wait a minute, no, that's just a human perpetrator.
yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of gray area here, but it's not
The
to say that
thing,
what didn't happen to you wasn't real. It's just
yeah.
how do you parse it, you know?
Well, the way that I parse it is, I don't know how to explain it. I know they are human. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think that I was on the table and they were whispering these things to me, or they were trying to be like, hey, I'm
Right.
this, I'm from this planet, or I'm from here, or don't tell me, or anything like that. I don't think that maybe at some point they had to do that, maybe early on when they didn't have as much media, but I grew up, or we grew up in prime time to where it's just like we didn't need to have this idea of an alien or whatever planted into our brains. It was in our
No.
media. Like, grew
Right.
up loving Independence Day, grew
Yeah.
up loving The Twilight Zone. X-Files, dude, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
classic show. It's one of my favorites, you know what I mean? So it's just like they can do these things and put things in media
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm
to
saying. That's what
trigger,
I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, to like,
Yeah. When these
to
things are
like, oh,
happening
maybe,
to you,
or it's,
and
oh, that's what happened to me. Like, oh, that's why. So it's like,
exactly. Yeah.
and you know, um, and that's not me saying aliens aren't real, because I firmly believe that if the universe, and I do believe that the universe is as big as they say it is, there is other life out there. I just don't think that because the universe is as big as it is, I don't think that they ever visit it. I just think that the possibilities because of the size is like, of course, we're just never gonna see it. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't think it's actual alien abductions. I think that, and it's not even these programs that are specifically designed for this. Any trauma, whether it's in the house and you're not part of a program, like a father abuses their child,
Hmm.
and that child attaches those memories to whatever,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is they know that human beings, for as complex as our brains are, we're still technically we have animal instincts, we have animal capabilities, we are capable of being animalistic. So shiny things like bring joy, you know,
Hmm.
and humans like to attach patterns to things, which is why I've always been so careful, and which is why I've always been so stuck in my head, is because I don't want to say things because people can easily disprove them, which is why a lot of people don't come out about these things. It's just like, oh, well, think logically for a sec. It's just X, Y, and Z. It's just like, no, I know these things because I felt them
Hmm.
and I've experienced these things. And things have happened in my life that I recollect that only confirms the things that I don't, you know? So it's not like everything is completely not out of memory or out of memory. It's just that the bulk or the majority or the things that happened to me when I was younger, where repression is so much easier for a child to just forget because they don't understand even what's going on. So it's easier for a child to push it aside or to not, because they don't recognize it isn't until repeat, and that's where drugs get involved and stuff like that. I mean, that's why the
Hmm.
CIA was experimenting with LSD, marijuana, uh, just all these psychedelics, acid, all these things for MK Ultra, and it's just like, all right, well, oh, MK Ultra is done. They're not doing it. No, they just learned enough of what they needed through MK Ultra, and now they bring it to the schools, and now they bring it to the military even further, or like
Hmm.
they use the military to test further and to bring things further. Um, because ultimately, they probably even protect the soldiers more than the public because the soldiers are more of an asset. It's just like you put all this money into a soldier just to what have fried their brains. So it's just like, all right, well, we perfected these methods. We know that abuse works. All right, well, let's make the public abuse their own children, and we don't even have to do it. And how do we do this? There's a pornography honeypot on the internet,
Hmm.
and that leads to child pornography because you
Oh,
don't get your fix. Like it's all of these things. Why?
yeah.
Because they know that humans want the shiny thing. They play into what humans want. What do humans want? At least nowadays, or actually for as far as we know, all of human history, sex, money, drugs. Let's push it in their face. Silk Road on the internet. Trump just pardoned the dude who created Silk Road on the deep web. Silk Road is where you could hire hitmen, buy guns from overseas, drugs from overseas, and it's like completely masked, black. You know, that was it. And he pardoned him. So it's just like all of this is everything plays together. That's why the war on drugs was never a war on drugs. It's a facade. It's just like because the drugs keep the people complacent in their own sin. You know,
Yeah.
and it sucks because like there's like sorry for people who are watching, but like there's weed which has benefits, or like there's like psilocybin mushrooms which has benefits. And those things are no, no, no. But then like cocaine is somehow still getting over fentanyl now. Like all of these, it's like come on. It's just like
Yeah.
it's just so obvious. So it's just like me, from my experience, I know that as human, um, I believe in the paranormal. Um, for sure. But I also believe that the paranormal as we know it isn't how we know it. because it's not for us to understand, because the paranormal would be God. And if there's anyone secular watching that, then it would be the universe, which I don't think we'll ever understand. So regardless of how you look at it, for how we came to be as a species, whether it's through God or through some, whatever the case may be, like it doesn't matter. It all comes down to this, like what we are speaking about right now, because it's real, it's happening. And the thing is, I grew up partially religious, then I fell out of it. So I've looked at it from a secular and a religious point of view, and you can tie all these lines together, regardless of how you look at it. If you just look at the world with the eyes that have been given to you, regardless of how they were given to you, you can see. I was able to start putting this together before I had any or before I had any real relationship with God. But now that I see God, it's just like, all right, well, now it just all makes sense. Like everything that I thought about before is true.
Yeah.
So it's just like, which is why I think another reason why I don't think there's mass control is because there are so many people awake and not biting onto the part of my French, but bullshit.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people that are like awake right now. You know what I mean? In their own way. So it's just like, that's why I don't think everyone's totally controlled. And I think those who would be worried about that are currently worried about that, which is why there's so much uncertainty around the entire world. Because these things come in waves, there's cycles. The wheels keep on turning.
Yeah.
Rolling, rolling down the river. Dude, things just keep going. Like, regardless of how you look at it, God is infinite, time is infinite, the universe is like, no matter how you look at it, it's infinite.
Yeah.
And so, like, time is really on our side. If you think about it, the problem is that some people will still be late.
That's a good point. That's good. I think that's a good place to end it, honestly. That's a good point. No, it's a positive, it's really, despite everything that you and a lot of others have gone through, everyone's testimony really amounts to just it really just comes down to that, really there's more of us than there are them. Their time is up, really. It's really a mass awakening, I think, taking place. We're gonna have to go through. You always have to go through the darkness to get to the light, but once that light bursts forth, the darkness has to flee. And I think that it's really only a matter of time. And I think that you awoke just in time, kind of like what we were talking about, in more private conversations, that really God and Jesus have been there the whole time, even though you didn't know. You
Yeah.
might not have had any sense of that, but they were there, and they were there, and they were protected, and they were waiting for you, and they've always been there.
About
I think that they're always there for humanity. It's just a matter of time before the lid blows off, the curtain's pulled, the light of truth shines forth, and it's all calm.
I just think that everything that, I mean, we can, I don't know how, we're still recording. Do we want to do a little preamble of what we might be? Are we still going to go down the paranormal route? Because I have tons of the paranormal that I can relate with, like real life experience, or like give real life explanation to something that's otherwise paranormal.
I think, yeah. I don't ever foresee
Because
us not having conversations for the channel because I just like talking with you. You're my brother, obviously.
we
So
both experience paranormal things.
I would really like to dedicate at least one of our conversations to what I refer to as the terror of
On
terrace,
terrorists.
the terror on terrace, because I don't have any crazy testimony or memories. Who knows? Maybe memories will come flooding back to me someday, and
Dude, see,
I'll
this
be
is
reliving trauma. But I will say this: I have experiences with the dark paranormal. I've dabbled with the occult. I personally have always had a fascination with this stuff from a boy. I don't know what that's about, but I would love to talk with you about our experiences on Terrace Street for sure.
yeah.
For now, I think that we can just end the conversation. So if there's anyone listening, I hope that my brother's testimony helps you understand that
Said.
there's a way to that first of all, you're not alone, and that if you ever need to talk, reach out to me. If you want to talk to my brother, I can put you into contact with him. If you want to be a guest and share your testimony, I will listen to you, and
I'll
I'll
listen
give you.
too. If anyone wants to join the conversation, that would be
Yeah,
cool.
we'll definitely give you space to share your testimony and that sort of thing. But I think for now, that's a wrap for this test for this episode. So yeah, thanks, Zach. I'm gonna stop recording now.
Thank you for watching. What Jesus says to one, he says to all. Repent and believe the gospel, for the kingdom of God and of heaven is at hand.